That's what I want to talk to you about today. Because maybe you're doing some of these same things too, believing you're just being responsible, hardworking, productive. But the truth is, you might be building, day after day, the exact road that leads straight to burnout. Before we dive in, let me say this. This channel is a safe space, made for people who want to truly understand what happens when your mind and body finally say enough. Here, we talk about burnout, mental health, and rebuilding yourself with honesty and compassion. So if you haven't yet, take a second and subscribe now. That way, you'll get all the next videos, and we can walk this healing path together. Now, take a deep breath with me. I want to share the 7 things that, without realizing it, might be pushing you toward burnout, even if they look like positive habits on the surface. The first one is waking up already feeling pressured. You know that feeling when you haven't even opened your eyes yet, and your head is already spinning with tasks, meetings, deadlines. It's like the day begins with a weight on your shoulders. And worse, you call that motivation. I used to think waking up anxious was just being driven. Now I know it was anxiety wearing the mask of discipline. When you start your day in alert mode, your body doesn't even get a chance to realize the day began. It jumps straight into survival mode. And living that way, day after day, slowly drains every ounce of your energy. The second thing is saying yes to everything and everyone. You find yourself agreeing to things you don't want to do, taking on favors you don't have energy for, accepting responsibilities that aren't yours, all to avoid disappointing someone. But in the end, the person you disappoint the most is yourself. Burnout loves people who can't say no. Every forced yes is another step toward collapse. I remember all the times I said yes to extra meetings, new projects that didn't fit in my schedule, even social plans when what I really needed was silence. I was afraid of seeming selfish. Now I know that saying no is a form of self-protection. The third one is being constantly connected. Your phone, your email, notifications, messages. Your brain never gets a break. Even when you try to relax, part of you stays on guard, ready to respond, to fix, to act. I lived like that for months, eating dinner with my phone next to me, sleeping with the sound of notifications, waking up to just check my email. The result? My mind never turned off. And when your mind doesn't rest, your body never recovers. Silence and stillness started to feel uncomfortable. And that's when I realized how disconnected I had become from myself. The fourth one is putting everyone else's needs before your own. You take care of everyone, your team, your family, your friends. You solve problems, you listen, you show up. But when it's your turn to rest, you say, "I'll take care of me later." But later never comes. That's how burnout grows. When you give so much that there's nothing left for yourself. I used to think it was noble to be the person everyone leaned on, until one day I had nothing left to give. Caring for others is beautiful, but not if it costs your mental health. The fifth one is blaming yourself for everything, even the things you can't control. Some days, things just don't go as planned, but instead of accepting it, you feel guilty. You replay every detail in your head, wondering what you could have done differently, trying to make up for it the next day. And your body, which just needed rest, gets loaded with more pressure instead. I used to do that all the time, ending the day completely drained, yet feeling guilty for not having done enough. But the truth was, enough didn't exist. It was a moving target that kept shifting every time I got close. Burnout is born when perfectionism disguises itself as responsibility. The sixth one is ignoring your body's signals. The headaches, the fatigue, the irritability, the forgetfulness, they're all your body trying to start a conversation with you. But instead, you drown it out with caffeine, painkillers, or that same phrase. It's just a phase. I said that to myself for months, until the day my body just shut down. And when that happens, it's not punishment. It's protection. It's your body forcing you to stop because You didn't have the courage to do it yourself. Now I understand. Your body is always talking. You're just not listening. And the seventh, maybe the most dangerous of all, is believing that rest has to be earned. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll rest when I finish everything"? But everything never ends. The list only grows. You keep postponing your well-being as if rest were a reward instead of a basic need. That's exactly what pushed me over the edge. I only stopped when my body screamed. Now I know, rest isn't the opposite of productivity. It's the fuel for it. Now I want to ask you something honestly. How many of these 7 things do you do without realizing it? 1, 2, or all of them? If you feel like sharing, write in the comments. I recognize more than one of these signs. That simple sentence can be your first step toward awareness, toward realizing something needs to change. And don't worry, this is a safe space. No one's here to judge your exhaustion. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's built in silence, in those small daily habits that seem normal but aren't. It's like a leaky roof. At first you ignore it, but one day the ceiling gives in. The hardest part is that society still praises self-destruction. Look how dedicated he is. She never stops. We glorify exhaustion and call it success. But real success isn't about enduring everything. It's about living in a way that doesn't constantly require recovery. And if you recognize yourself in these patterns, don't beat yourself up. Guilt just adds more weight. What you need now is awareness, kindness, and courage to change. The way out of burnout doesn't start with huge life decisions. It begins with small acts of self-care, and that's what I want to talk about in the next part. How to turn this around, regain your energy, and rebuild your life with balance and lightness. Burnout doesn't show up one morning out of nowhere. It builds itself slowly, quietly, through ordinary days that all look the same. You keep pushing, believing that being tired just means you're strong, until one day your body simply says, "Enough." It's not a sudden collapse. It's a silent surrender. And when that moment comes, you realize something deep. You can't outrun yourself forever. I know how heavy it feels to admit that something inside you is breaking, especially when the world doesn't stop for you. The deadlines keep coming, people keep calling, life keeps demanding. You look around and it seems like everyone else is handling it fine, so you keep pretending too. But you can't heal from what you keep pretending. Doesn't hurt. That's the truth about burnout. It's not about weakness. It's about disconnection. It happens when you've been strong for too long, carrying more than anyone should. And this, right here, is where everything can start to change. Because recognizing what's happening isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your comeback. I still remember the day I hit my limit. I was staring at my computer screen, completely numb. My body was shaking, my thoughts were blurry, and even the smallest task felt impossible. I wasn't just tired, I was empty. And in that emptiness, I understood something that changed everything. If I didn't stop, I would lose myself completely. Maybe you're close to that point too. Maybe you're holding on, telling yourself, "I just need to get through this week." But here's the thing. Burnout doesn't go away with another week. It ends when you decide to stop living in survival mode. And it starts with small steps. Not grand gestures, not overnight change. Just small, gentle decisions that remind your body and your mind that they're safe again. The first step is allowing yourself to pause, not because you've earned it, not because you finished everything, but because you're human. You don't need to deserve rest. You need to allow it. For me, that was the hardest part. I felt guilty for doing nothing. I thought rest was wasted time. But when I finally allowed myself to stop, really stop, I realized silence isn't empty. Silence is full of answers you can only hear when you pause. The second step is setting boundaries that protect your peace. Start saying no to what drains you. Not every call, not every favor, not every request deserves your yes. And I know that saying no feels uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to pleasing everyone. But every no you say to the world is a quiet yes to yourself. You are not responsible for holding everything together. Let that sink in. The third step is reconnecting with what fills your soul. When burnout disconnects you from life, the way back is through joy. Real, simple joy. It doesn't have to be anything big. It can be feeling the warmth of sunlight, drinking your coffee slowly, walking barefoot on the grass, or listening to a song that reminds you of who you used to be. Healing doesn't happen in giant leaps. It happens in tiny moments that remind you you're still here. The fourth step is asking for help. I know, that sounds easier said than done. But let me tell you something from experience. You don't have to do this alone. None of us can. Talk to someone, a friend, a therapist, someone who makes you feel safe. Sometimes you don't need advice, just someone to sit with you in the silence and remind you that you're not broken. Because you're not. You're tired. There's a difference. The fifth step is redefining what success really means. Burnout thrives when you believe your worth depends on what you produce. But success isn't about how much you can do, it's about how alive you feel doing it. Maybe success for you is peace of mind. Maybe it's having dinner without checking your phone. Maybe it's sleeping 8 hours and waking up without guilt. Whatever it is, let it be yours. You see, recovery isn't about going back to who you were before burnout. It's about becoming someone new, someone softer, slower, more aligned with what really matters. When I started healing, I realized that burnout hadn't just taken my energy, it had stolen my joy. And getting that joy back meant learning how to live differently, not faster. If you're feeling lost right now, start with something simple tonight. Before you go to sleep, close your eyes and ask yourself, what do I need right now? Don't overthink it. Just listen. Maybe you need rest. Maybe you need to cry. Maybe you just need to stop being so hard on yourself. Whatever the answer is, honor it. The truth is, your body and your mind already know the way back. They've just been waiting for you to slow down enough to hear them. And if today you feel like you've hit your breaking point, maybe this is actually your turning point. You don't have to rush your healing. You don't have to be your old self again. You just have to take one small step, one gentle breath toward yourself. I look back now, and I see that burnout wasn't just an ending. It was a wake-up call. It broke everything that wasn't real. It stripped away all the pretending. It forced me to see that I had been living for approval instead of peace. It hurt deeply. But it also gave me something precious, the chance to start over. So if you're standing at that edge right now, I want you to know something. There is hope. What you're feeling isn't failure. It's your body begging for a new beginning. You are not weak for being tired. You're human for needing rest. And yes, healing takes time. You might fall back into old patterns sometimes, but every time you pause, every time you choose peace over pressure, every time you whisper, "Not today," you are healing. Recovery isn't a straight line. It's a path that slowly, gently leads you back home, to yourself. So, if this video spoke to you, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's keep walking this path together, slowly, intentionally, with kindness. Remember, you don't have to handle everything. You just have to take care of yourself, one day at a time. And maybe, one morning soon, you'll realize something beautiful. The weight that once crushed you is gone. Breathing feels light again. Waking up doesn't hurt anymore. And for the first time in a long time, you're not just surviving, you're living.